Hi traders, welcome to this video. I made a video about screening for stocks with Finviz some weeks ago. Finviz is a great tool if you don't want to spend so much money per month for a screening tool, or if you are a newbie in the trading world. But if you want to screen for reliable EPS information, for example, you need a different tool. And as a second screening tool, I use MarketSmith from Investors Business Daily. I think it's a great tool, especially if you look for growth stocks, because the whole tool is specialized about growth stocks. And it offers reliable EPS information. Why reliable EPS information? The most tools like Finviz, etc., they are all using diluted EPS. So they are using the normal EPS information, which is given by every data provider. But Investor Business Daily also use non-GAAP EPS information. And for some companies, this is a more reliable EPS number, and MarketSmith already provided that and built it in to the tool. Okay, how I screen for stocks with MarketSmith. I generally always look for very strong growth in sales and also in EPS numbers, but I also look at strong technical indicators, especially the relative strength. And here in the left corner, you can see the screens I'm using. I go through every screen so that you can see the information and my criteria here on the right side, screen summary. So I have a screener RS99. So this screener lists all stocks which have a proprietary RS ranking from IBD of 99. So these are the most strongest technical stocks available in the market. You can see here RS rating 99. I look for stocks above $5 and I want to see at least 15 million US dollar traded volume per day. So if you multiply the volume with the price, it must be above 50 million US dollar. And I use the screener for to find and monitor the strongest stocks in the market. There's a lot of biotech stocks here in the screener, but also some very new IPO companies and some very strong other stocks. I also use the screener weekly unusual volume. So I screen for unusual volume in stocks. You can see here also stocks must be above $5. The market cap must be above 250 million. So I don't trade micro caps and a lot of small caps. I'm trading liquid mid to large cap stocks. And here's the same criteria. It must be above 50 million US dollar traded volume per day. The current week must be positive, and also the volume in percentage, the volume change versus the average 10-week volume should be above 25%. So that means the volume for the last week must be 125% of the 10-week average. And I filter out ETFs because I don't want to look at ETFs. So I use this screener to find some candidates which are under high accumulation, so under or where a very big demand is for that stock. You find a lot of stocks inside this screener, for example, which published earnings or had some news in the last week. Then I have a screener. I look for growth rate. I look for stocks which have an EPS growth in the last 3 years of an average of 25%. That's also a number which is provided by IBD, and I also use a minimum price. In this screener I use $7, sometimes I use $5. This is not so important because I mostly trade stocks well above $7, so more in the 20s to 50s, and also $500. I try to avoid the very small ones. And also a volume minimum and an RS rating, so the relative strength rating from IBD of 90. So the stock must belong to the top 10% stocks in the relative strength criteria. Another one I'm using is accelerating EPS. So I look for stocks which are or where the EPS is accelerating in the last 3 quarters. Here I also use an RS minimum. I look for an EPS change in the last quarter of at least 20%. I want to see positive sales growth in the last 3 quarters. The average EPS change must be above 10%. Also, I use here price minimum of $10, and I also use here some volume minimum. And here is the criteria EPS accelerating in the last 3 quarters. So that means in the last 3 quarters, every quarter has a higher number of EPS growth. So please don't look at the volume criteria or at the price. It's not important if you screen for $5, $7 or $10. As I said, I mostly trade stocks in the 20 or 50 or even $500. And I also look for very liquid stocks. So 50 million is a minimum. I mostly trade stocks around 50 to 100 million. But I want to look at more stocks so that I maybe find some surprising small caps or mid cap stocks. And sometimes I also trade a small position in a stock which has not so high liquidity. Okay, then I'm skipping this China screener because I have also a small screener for China stocks. I'm using such a screener if I want to look at a special theme in the market. So for example, if I want to look at all China stocks or all software stocks, etc., then I'm using such a screener. Unusual volume is a screener I'm using on a daily base. So I look for a volume change of at least 50%. So that means that the current volume is 150% of the 50-day average. And I'm looking also at positive price change, of course, sort out small caps and also ETFs. This is a screener I'm using on a daily basis if I want to see, okay, where is very high demand and where is very, very strong volume. Then I have a screener here, 3 years IPOs, that list all stocks which had the IPO in the last 3 years. And I'm also sorting out stocks, illiquid stocks and stocks with a small price. Another one is high ROE. This is a high return on equity. So here I'm using a very strict criteria. So I just want to see only stocks with an RS rating higher than 95%. So really the top stocks. And I want to see at least 28% of ROE. So a very strict criteria. So I'm really looking at the stocks which are delivering a very, very good return on equity in the market. Another screener I have is high estimation. So I look for stocks with the highest estimation. So this is interesting because sometimes you have stocks in the market which do not show the strong fundamentals yet, but have a very high estimation, and analysts and also institutions are expecting higher growth in future. Tesla is such a candidate which you can find with a high estimation, because the estimation in future is very, very high, but the current numbers are not showing this type of growth which analysts are expecting in the future. New 52-week highs is a screener I'm looking on a daily basis. So I want to see, okay, which stocks are reaching a new 52-week high. And sometimes I find some interesting stocks inside the screener, but I'm using mostly the screener to get a feeling of market movement. So if a lot of stocks reach a new 52-week high, this gives me some confidence in the market move. Yes, and the criteria are here on the right side. I also filter out ETFs here and want to see liquid stocks. One screener I'm using here and also in Finviz is above 10% a week. This is a screener I really find helpful, because it shows you a lot of stocks which had a good move in the last week, and you can add them to your watch list to wait for a consolidation or a pullback. And you find also a lot of stocks inside the screener which had earnings release or some good news and are under high accumulation. In this screener, I'm not so strict with the criteria, so you can see I'm using an RS rating of 80%. I do this because such a screener like 10%, above 10%, above 10% change in the last week, this is a great screener you can use to see trends in the market. So if a lot of stocks from the same sector appear in the screener, you can see, okay, there is a movement in the market. So you can see here, for example, a lot of biotech stocks came up in the screener. And there is a big trend in the biotech stocks, especially in the smaller ones. And you can see that with the screener. So that's the reason why I'm not so strict here. And I also want to see some stocks which are not the super performers in the market, but which had a good change in the last week. So then I'm using the above RS rating 90. So I list all the stocks which have an RS rating above 90. So they belong to the best 10% of all stocks which are tracked by IBD. I want to see at least 20% sales growth and some current price and also liquidity minimums. This is a screener I'm using a lot because I want to see the technical strong stocks, and then I'm going into the fundamentals and into the story. But first of all, I want to make sure that the technicals are right. And the RS rating is one of the top criteria for that, to see, okay, which are the stocks which really outperform the market. Another one is above 100%. This is a performance screener. So I list all the stocks which have a performance of more than 100% in 1 year. And this is a screener to see, okay, how many stocks are really had a very nice run in the past. And the thing is, a lot of those stocks, which are often momentum stocks, they set up again. So they run for 100%, then they build a new base, and then you can jump on the next breakout or wait for a pullback. So I monitor these stocks, and I often have a lot of stocks in my own portfolio which are up in this screener, or which are coming up in the screener. And I'm monitoring this also in bear markets or when the markets have a correction, because it shows you really the stocks which can hold up very good in a correction. EPS above 50, this is a typical growth scanner for EPS. I also have an RS rating minimum here and also a sales minimum. So I want to make sure that the sales are positive, that the EPS changed at least 50% in the last quarter, and in the last 3 quarters the average should be above 10%. So you want to make sure that the stock really had a positive change of the EPS and show positive EPS numbers. And I only look at the really top stocks here. I don't want to look at stocks which have a mediocre EPS growth. I want to see the stocks which have 50, 100, 500 or even 1000% EPS growth, and then I'm going into the detailed analysis of those stocks. Okay, and then the last one is new RSI, and this is one of my favorite scanners on the daily base. I want to see which stocks reached a new high in the RS line. The RS line is also a proprietary indicator from IBD. I have it also in my trading view charts, and I provided also a video how to add this indicator to your trading view charts. And this is very interesting because it shows you stocks which are able to outperform the market. And this screener is very interesting if the market if the market has a correction, so you can see which stocks are not so correcting, not so strong as the market. But also when the market is up, you find stocks which are much stronger than the market and where the RS line is reaching a new high. And you can see here this criteria RS line new high. Yes, this make it possible to look for stocks which have a new high. And I also had an IPO date here because I want to sort out all the old stocks. I just want to see only stocks in the last 20 years, so more the newer ones. And you can see that I'm sometimes very strictly in my screeners and sometimes a little bit more loose. And I go through all the screeners at the weekend, and I only look at weekly charts. And some of them, so like the RS line, like new 52-week highs, like the above 90 RS or unusual volume, these are screeners where I look on a daily base. And I want to see which type of stocks are coming up, from which industry, how the charts look like, to get a better feeling for the market. And sometimes I find a candidate which I add to my watch list, but I really do the most work on the weekends, and then I go through every screener. This sounds a little bit like looking at thousands of stocks. That's not right, because a lot of stocks are coming up in every screener, and I have all the charts and all the thoughts about the stocks in my head. So if I for example see a Tesla is coming up in 10 screens, so I don't look at the charts in every screener. I look at them one time, and then I see, okay, this is coming up in a lot of screeners, and then I may add it to my watch list if it match my criteria. And I also, of course, skip all the stocks which are already on my watch list. So it's not a lot of work. I think I need at the weekend a half hour to go through all the screeners on the daily base. I maybe need 10 minutes or something, because a lot of those stocks I already know or are already on my watch list. I just want to show you if I for example go through a screener on the weekend, I open the chart here and I only look at weekly charts. And the good thing here on MarketSmith is that you have all the information you need on one screen. So you can see the weekly chart, which is the most important chart for me. I see the base here, I see the RS line, I see the S&P 500, I see the volume, the weekly volume, I see all the fundamentals, and then I can go through the charts. If I type on my keyboard the down arrow, for example, then I click on enter, then I open the next one and go through them with my keyboard. And this takes not so much time because I have all the information on my screen. And if I see a stock here like Moderna, for example, I already know, okay, this is software, this is a medical biotech company, and I already know the stock and I already have the information in my head. Okay, this has a relation to COVID-19. Okay, sales growth is only dominated by spendings from pharmaceutical companies, etc. Very good volume. So I really look at them in one second, and I have a lot of information here in the table. So I see the price change, I see the average 50-day dollar volume, so the volume multiplied by the price. I see the different ratings, and I already have some shortcuts in my mind. So for example, if I go through biotech companies, and I know a lot of biotech companies in my mind, and you can see that mostly on the name, I already look automatically, for example, on the EPS rating. And if the EPS rating is very, very low, I skip biotech stocks because I don't trade speculative biotech stocks. I only trade biotech stocks with some already finished products and income stream. Yeah, and so I go through a lot of stocks, and here, for example, Fiverr, which I also showed in my newsletter. I already know the stock, I know the sales number, I have everything in my mind, and this is how I go through a lot of stocks in a very, very short time. And this is so my routine in MarketSmith. The thing is, MarketSmith is expensive, so it costs $150 per month. This is an investment. If you are an experienced trader and you have a larger account, and you already be profitable, then you can use such a tool. If not, Finviz is a great alternative. I worked with Finviz for years, and I also use it in the daily business because it provided the big benefit of looking at multiple charts at the same time. And but as I said, I have here in MarketSmith all the information at one screen, and I have reliable EPS information here and all the proprietary rankings. And this is something where I discover really growth stocks. So I don't want to recommend this tool completely to you. You must always look if you really need all these tools and all the information for your trading. You can see, you can find all the similar information on the websites of the companies. And yes, it takes more time, but it shows you the same information. And sometimes it's better to go through the information manually and collect them in an Excel spreadsheet instead of going through them through software. Okay, I hope that this video helped you to get more insights into my screening with MarketSmith, and I already showed you what I'm doing by going through the lists, and you can also see which columns I use in the screeners and which criteria. You can set up all the screeners by yourself if you want to, so please don't contact me and ask if I can help you to do that. You must do that by your own and learn how to use the software. It's really easy, or ask MarketSmith for help. And I don't publish these screeners public, so you don't find them if you click on Browse Screener, and you can set up really them by yourself in a very short time. Okay, if you want to follow me, you can do this on the already known channels: Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. And I recommend to subscribe to my free newsletter. I'm sending it out every Sunday. And I publish trading tips, and I also show you 3 stocks of my personal watch list and write some comments about that. So highly recommend it if you want to learn more about stock trading.